knew something was off the second Marcus called me File Fiona in front of the entire department, and everyone just chuckled like it was fine. Like I wasn't standing right there with the annual audit binder in my grip that, by the way, none of them had bothered to skim. But Marcus, he was on a tear. "You know what we should do?" he said to the director of operations, still snickering. "Let's swap her out with an app. At least that wouldn't harass us about protocol filings." Cue another wave of bro laughter, the kind that reeks of energy drinks and unearned authority. Now I've been in the corporate trenches long enough to spot when you're being sidelined. They never spell it out. It's always tucked in a quip with a grin, and chased by a just joshing that hits like a shank in the side. Marcus didn't bother with the subtlety. He just hammered you with hubris. You'd think a guy parachuted into a senior spot fresh from his uncle's referral would at least fake knowing what the audit team actually did. But no, 3 weeks in, he was already ditching guidelines, ridiculing old systems, and telling folks I was a spreadsheet with a stress disorder. And me, I said zilch. Not a peep. Not when he accidentally knocked a stack of reports off my desk. Not when he breezed by me in huddles with those smug zingers like, "Oh look, she brought the rulebook again." Not even when he informed a batch of new hires that my position would be extinct in 5 months. Max, because who needs audit trails when you're charging ahead? I sat, I listened. I jotted notes. If you're still tuned in right now, and I hope you are, do me one quick solid. Hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this if it made you grit your teeth even a bit. Seriously. Over 90% of folks tune in and never sub, but it actually keeps the team pumping out these tales. Plus, trust me, you're gonna want to see how this one wraps because Marcus, he had no clue what was heading his way. Anyway, let's rewind to that initial week. He chucked the firm's review checklist that had been solid for a dozen years. Just stood there in the collab space, flapped it like a rag and jammed it in the recycler. "We're not dinosaurs," he proclaimed. "We're evolving. Fiona, why don't you go sort some staples or something?" One of the temps giggled so hard she snorted. I remember her. Her name was Kendall. She had no inkling the checklist she just saw trashed was the precise one linked to our regulatory vault entry pact, meaning if anything tanked with our $350 million interlink merger, that paper path was the sole barrier between us and a regulatory blackout. But sure, let's chortle. I didn't defend it, didn't clarify, just scooped the scraps, carried them back to my station, and printed a fresh one from my secure backup. While the others shuffled out, still tittering, I tucked one crisp copy into the dossier on my knee. It was hefty, stamped in blue, labeled in formal font, Vault Guardian Entry Pack Tier 3. Marcus sauntered behind me, spotted the dossier, and wrapped the cover with his finger. "You know, that's precisely what's wrong with this joint. Everything's so grave with you. Loosen up, try a spin class." I smiled faintly. The kind of smile you flash when you already sense the quake brewing and you've got the only bunker. By the close of the second week, I didn't need a planner to track the days. Could gauge time by how many more screw-ups Marcus racked up before noon. Monday, he cut me off mid-phrase during an audit briefing to ask if anyone had caught the reel with the dude swapping ops with a bot. No one snickered, but he winked like he'd just dropped a keynote zinger. I was mid-explaining a flagged deal. A flagged deal, mind you, that could have sparked an SEC ping. He interrupted for a clip. A damn clip. Tuesday, he barged into my cubicle unannounced, hoisted a binder with the latest annual risk ledger, and asked, "So what's the real downside if we just nuke this?" I told him flatly, "You'd violate the Vault Guardian covenant linked to the Helix merger." He blinked. "Heavy lingo, File Queen. Let's not get theatrical." Then he lobbed it back on my desk like it was tainted and said, "Got a sharper plan anyway. We're onboarding someone dynamic. Enter Jordan, the fresh ops optimizer with a fade haircut, a dual degree from someplace obscure, and a CV that scanned more like a viral thread than a track record. His sole quals? He once got a Trello board trending and was in Marcus's alumni circle. Real powerhouse creds. Jordan tailed me for one afternoon, snapped a pic of my flowchart, dubbed it Cluttered Vibes, and then queried if we truly needed an audit blueprint at all. By Wednesday, my log started rebounding with tweaks. Marcus had dipped into our core audit hub sans clearance and begun overriding my risk tags. His notes, too conservative, embrace the flow. I wanted to ask what flow he meant exactly, but at this juncture, watching him edit was like watching someone toy with nitro and figuring the blue cap looked tasty to nibble. And the crew, they clocked it. They sensed it. But no one dared pipe up. We were in firm limbo where you don't challenge, you book a follow-up. Only one soul risked it. Greg, a logistics lead from sourcing, leaned over my station after a session where Marcus floated farming out audits to AI tuned on growth mindsets. Greg, bless his seasoned, no-frills heart, quietly asked, "Hey, does Marcus even grasp the Guardian Clause before messing with that entry binder?" I looked up at him, just looked. No words, no face. Just long enough for Greg to blink, nod slowly, and mumble, "Understood." 'Cause here's the deal. No one beyond legal ever grucks when you're named as an audit guardian verbatim in stark legal pact verbiage. You don't just get subbed 'cause Bro 2.0 wants to revamp the aura. You're not an aura. You're a sentinel. A legit federally noted requisite with creds that can't be flipped like desk snacks. You don't just tweak audit frameworks the way you tweak emoji packs. Marcus wasn't keen on frameworks. He was keen on appearances, and nothing dusts a veteran squad faster than a cocky 30-ish who struts with a Yeti mug spouting lingo he skimmed from podcasts. Thursday, I found my station had been shifted to the remote edge of the floor. No heads up, just a memo from ops that read interim repositioning amid revamp. My credentials still scanned. My repo still booted. My files intact. But my tag gone. That evening, I didn't head home. I sat at an all-night cafe off 76th, ordered dark roast and a club sandwich, and fired up my device. The doc I accessed wasn't for them. It was for me. A safeguard. A bit marked Guardian activation upon dismissal. I didn't input anything. Not yet. I just eyed the provision because the next time Marcus queried what I did all day, I wanted to be primed to demo. The ping landed in my inbox at 10:14 a.m. Subject line, brief convo. No deets. No schedule. Just those two terms that every firm vet knows truly means turn in your pass. Ops never sets brief convos. They set departure talks. And the worst bit, they don't even grant you time to stash your snacks in the cooler before they deem you surplus. I strolled into the compact pain chamber at the hall's end, the one they use for eval chats and stiff B-day treats. There sat Paula from Ops, face stuck in that fragile semi-grin saved for wakes and pink slips. And beside her, lounged like a lord in a stack chair, was Marcus. He had one leg crossed over his knee, and that bro smirk glued on like he'd just scored a lotto stub. No binder, no device, just his mobile on the board, display up, flashing some thread. The guy couldn't even afford me the respect of feigning to take this grave. "Fiona," he said cheerily like he was hailing me at a tailgate. "Thanks for dropping in on short notice. We're realigning for velocity." He actually air-quoted, "Your spot, it's just not synced with the horizon view. Effective now you're cut loose. But hey," he leaned in, "no grudges, right?" Paula began reciting from a cue about payout and perks extension. I didn't catch it. My gaze stayed on Marcus's. He spun a stylus between his digits like this was just another icebreaker. "We're gonna make this spot nimble quick," he said. "Jordan's gonna rise up. Fresh veins, fresh drive." Then he winked at me, W. "Maybe you'll thank me one day." My mandible clamped so tight I thought my fillings might shatter. But I didn't weep, didn't debate, even glance at Paula when she pushed the NDA across the board with a stylus. I just endorsed where they directed, slid my credential onto the board, and rose. Marcus's tone trailed me out like a sour tune. "Bruise on me," he hollered, pivoting toward a few leads hovering near the lifts. They chortled on cue, the way folks chortle when they're unsure if they should, but know it's safer than hush. I strode down the corridor in a fog, past my station, where Jordan was already planted in my seat, thumbing his mobile, and straight to the lift. My hands were stable, even though my heartbeat was a percussion in my ears. Inside my satchel was everything I'd grabbed with me. Not the framed snap, not the thermos, not even the backup protein bars I stashed for extended hours. Just one thing, a sleek gray memory stick warm from where it had been plugged in my device port all morn. It contained nothing theatrical, no launch codes, no covert tapes, just duplicates of what was already mine. The provisions, the creds, the vault routines, the true power wasn't on the stick. It was on the dock with my name on it. Filed quarters ago in a secured drawer, Marcus had never deigned to peek at. I stepped into the lift-pressed ground and stared at my mirror image in the polished wall. My visage was serene, too serene. Fury isn't always blaze. Sometimes it's a frost, gradual and deliberate, shifting beneath until it's primed to split the whole damn gorge wide. The doors sealed, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I smiled faintly. The kind of smile you give when you're striding away, but already know you're not the one departing bare. I didn't head home. I didn't dial anyone. I didn't wail into a cushion or slam plaster or decant a flute of vino and sob in the tub like some stream trope. I just drove, parked in the distant nook of the West Ridge corporate lot, Same niche I used to take midday breaks when the premises got too rowdy. It was vacant, hushed, the kind of bland urban quiet that envelops you like a clinic lobby. No tunes, just the motor cooling with ticks. I opened the device on the rider seat, booted it up with the same routine I used when submitting annual disclosures. No trembling fingers, no grand exhales, just keys tapping like a timer in a burial procession. My inbox had already begun swelling with the repercussions. One ping from Paula with wrap-up docs, another from tech affirming my system rights were nulled. But neither of those mattered. Not compared to the draft I was about to dispatch, the one I'd stored 4 weeks ago, just in case. Subject line, Guardian dismissal, critical activation alert. I reperused the body, even though I'd already committed it to memory. Frigid, exact, unequivocal. It referenced provision 13.5 of the Vault Guardian Pact, the one bound to the impending $350 million Interlink merger with Vortex Partners. It declared in no uncertain terms that the ouster or dismissal, willing or not, the named audit guardian prior to accord closure would activate an auto-audit lockdown on all linked accounts until a complete review and recert by legal aid. In bold, my name Emily Fiona Hayes, registered guardian, license number 5138, died. Below that, the close. This exchange serves as official alert of guardian dismissal. Activation routine engaged. Effective now hovered over the dispatch button for just a beat. Not because I wavered, but because I wanted to sense it. The gravity of it. The grace. Because this wasn't payback. This was procedure. And Marcus, he'd strode right into it with both eyes shut and a smirk on his mug. Click. And that was it. A tiny swish as the ping vanished into the net. And just like that, the safe bolted tight. On the other side, millions of dollars. 7 global overseers, 3 law outfits, 4 banks, and 1 frantic merger squad about to grasp that their nimble and dynamic horizon had just slammed headlong into a concrete barrier of audit law. I watched the sky morph through my windshield, slate fading into amber. My phone buzzed once, then again, then again. I didn't even glance. I knew precisely what those pings were. First legal, then ops. Someone in stakeholder relations who just grasped the preliminary allocation slot had iced sans warning. 1 ping, then 12. Messages stacking, ramping in urgency. And me? I just reclined in the driver's seat and sealed the device. This wasn't fury anymore. This was fulfillment. A gradual blade. The kind they never detect until they're already draining. By the time the sun dipped behind the lot structure, the vault attorneys had responded. 5 recipients BCC'd. Subject line urgent vault lock affirmed. Inside one phrase, assets iced pending restoration or certified successor guardian. I let out a breath. Not a chortle, not a sigh. Just release. They wanted to charge fast. Congrats. Everything had halted. Back in the premises, Marcus was on his conquest circuit. By 9:40 a.m., he was already on his 4th espresso, striding into conference room C with that insufferable spring in his stride, like he'd just reinvented Enterprise overnight. The pane walls couldn't muffle the sound of his tone as he welcomed the Vortex delegation with a slap on the shoulder and a don't fret. The ballasts shed. We're charging light and swift now. He reclined in the pivot seat like he possessed the joint. Technically, he didn't. Practically, no one was halting him. He dubbed it a tactical streamlining. Told them he'd unified audit under a sleeker model. Even tossed in a zinger about dusty legacy routines blocking evolution, which made Jordan snicker a tad too hard. The Vortex team, 4 folks in matching charcoal attire, and 1 weary-looking lady with a badge from Berlin, just affirmed politely perplexed. They weren't here for the venture fluff. We're here to endorse the ultimate clearance to shunt the $350 million into Vault and kick off the merger. Then 10:09 hit. First it was legal. Someone from our internal aid squad pinged Jordan. Can you affirm who has Guardian access for the Vault shift? Jordan blinked, looked up from his Trello panel and mumbled, I think that's been reassigned. Like it was a shared doc. Next came the ops lead, Harlan, normally stoic. Guy was now glaring at his display like it had just slighted his kin. Why is the allocation route barred? He grumbled, tapping furiously at his keys. He tried anew, this time with a direct auth code. Nada. System bolted. Readout flashing. Guardian validation mandated. Entry denied. By 10:24, panic was starting to bubble. The Berlin rep finally spoke. Received notice that all Vault routines were iced due to a Guardian activation. Is there an audit officer we can consult? Quiet. Marcus blinked. Yeah, we're revamping the unit. New setups, new crew shouldn't be a glitch. We'll patch that before midday. The Vortex team said zilch. Just swapped glances. Across the building in the legal nook, a junior associate named Mallory, fresh from bar exam, still marks with hue tabs, thumbing through the Vault Guardian Pact for the 5th time in 12 minutes. And that's when she spotted it. Provision 13.5, bolded, underlined, stamped by the notary. Only the named guardian of record may sanction transactional entry to vault account 7741 Harlan. In the event of dismissal, all entry is immediately revoked until a certified replacement is appointed, vetted, and approved by external legal counsel, audit, and both parties' audit officers. Mallory paled. She started, then gulped. We dismissed the only authorized endorser. The partner beside her, Vic, 22 years in the game, usually unshakable, sealed his device slowly, like he was afraid it might detonate. You're saying the Vortex deal is locked, Mallory just affirmed. Back in conference room C, Marcus's phone started vibrating uncontrollably. Ping, text, Teams, legal alert, ops alert. Another alert from stakeholder relations marked critical. His smirk wavered. Jordan, bless his ops bro soul, tried to proffer a fix. Can't we just retro-date a new Guardian form? And no, muttered Harlan from ops, not even glancing up. That's not how Vault works. This isn't expense reports. And still no one had heard from Emily. Her phone rang. Went to message. Her ping reads no response. Her home dim. She hadn't fled. She wasn't concealing. But she wasn't engaging their play either. She'd excised herself from the formula entirely. And in doing so had become the one variable they couldn't resolve. The sole credentialed guardian in a high-stakes, time-critical, federally flagged Vault Pact had gone silent, and no one knew how to mend that. That night, Vic didn't head home. He lingered in the midtown loft they kept for crisis stays, decanted a neat scotch, reperused the binder thrice, made no pings, gave no declarations, but somewhere after midnight, withdrew a yellow pad and scrawled one line at the top. Who the hell did we dismiss? At exactly 9:05 a.m., the boardroom portal shut with a heavy snap that echoed like a rifle shot. The chamber was jammed. Every director, every lead, even a few managers who hadn't been summoned, but knew something tectonic was about to shift. The kind of session where no one touches the gratis muffins, and the quiet is dense enough to gnaw. Marcus strolled in 12 minutes early, sipping from a large iced latte, talking too boisterous about sleek handoffs and audit choke points. He hailed folks by first name like they were all just here to slap him on the back for doing the tough thing. Even cracked a quip about finally being able to refresh the ethos now that the dock draggers were out. He took the chair next to the CEO's unbidden and sat like it was his inheritance. Vic Langston entered at 8:58 on the dot. No jacket, no device. Just a lone binder tucked under his arm and a look on his face like he'd just emerged from a skirmish and wasn't sure the battle was done. He didn't hail anyone, didn't perch, just strode to the board's head, placed the binder down, and opened it with hushed finality. Before we commence, he said, tone gravelly but keen, I'd like to recite aloud one provision. Pulled a sheet from the binder, unfolded it gradually, and began. Provision 13.5 Vault Guardian Pact. Vortex Partners Merger. Quote, Guardian dismissal shall immediately nullify entry, ICE assets, and postpone proceedings indefinitely until such time as a certified successor is appointed, vetted and approved by external legal aid, review, and both parties' audit officers. Quiet. A few heads pivoted. One exec member gasped audibly. Vic looked up, let the sheet drop to the board like a fallen hatchet, and stared directly at Marcus. You dismissed the Guardian. The only authorized Guardian without vet, without alert, without succession strategy, without grasping that her name was the juridical linchpin of a $350 million transaction. Marcus blinked, his smirk stumbling. We were refreshing the crew? She was resistant to shift, dragging things down. We're just what? Vic cut him off. Purging ranks, playing lead, gutting audit because you couldn't be bothered to grasp what any of it signified. Marcus sat back, flushed. Jordan was stepping in. He's not credentialed, snapped someone from legal, and his profile says he's passionate about process fluidity. Someone else grumbled. Another voice chimed in. Our buyer aid has halted the deal. They're already threatening suits if this delays closure. Vic didn't flinch, didn't blink. He reached into the binder and pulled out one more sheet. A hue copy of Emily's original credentialing cert, stamped and notarized, dated bound directly to the vault account in question. Do you know why her name is on this doc? Marcus quiet. Because she was the only one in this outfit with the quals, the federal clearance, the coverage, and the track to act as our audit guardian. She crafted the damn routine, penned the protocol. She alerted us 7 years ago that a single-point guardian role was hazardous, and no one heeded, including me. The chamber held its breath. Vic picked up the pact again and slammed it hard against the polished oak. A few recoiled, then he said it. The line that had been simmering in the back of his throat since he read that blue binder in the car. Who the hell did we dismiss? The weight of it landed like a mallet. No one spoke. No one stirred. Vic, for the first time since his cocky little ascension began, looked around the chamber and saw no backers. Just eyes. Cold, appraising, calculating eyes. Emily wasn't there. She didn't need to be. Her absence was the power, because she wasn't just the guardian of the account. She was the guardian of their entire damn integrity, and they had flushed her out like waste. Now the waste was quiet and the outfit was ablaze. The portal opened at 9:42 a.m. Every head turned. Emily stepped in like she had all the time in the world. No haste, no apology. She wore a navy blazer. Clean lines, no fuss, not angry, not smug, just still. Controlled. Like someone who knew the building had been on fire all week, and only just now decided to bring the extinguisher. She didn't say a word, just walked up to the security panel outside the boardroom door, tapped her credential, still active, and waited as the green light blinked. Lock released with a soft snap. Inside, the chamber was frozen. Vic Langston stood, not out of habit, not out of courtesy, out of respect. "Emily," he said, tone low. "Thank you for coming." She gave him a small nod. Didn't smile. Marcus stood too, but for all the wrong reasons. His mouth opened, already halfway to spinning something. Maybe a fake regret, maybe another excuse, but Vic didn't even look at him. "Marcus," he said calmly. "Step out." Marcus blinked. Now it wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive, but it was final. Marcus hesitated, glanced around the chamber for backup. He found none. He adjusted his blazer like it might restore his spine, then slipped past Emily without making eye contact. The door snapped shut behind him. Emily remained standing until Vic gestured to his own seat. "Please," he said. "This one's yours." She sat, folding her hands neatly in front of her. Only sound in the chamber was the quiet shuffle of Vic reopening the binder. "We've conferred with Vortex," he began. "They've agreed to resume proceedings. Their aid will hold the vault window open for 72 more hours if the named guardian is reinstated immediately." He slid the reactivation form toward her across the board. "Effective immediately, you'd regain full guardian authority." She read it slowly, stylus in hand, but not yet signing. "Need a few updates to the terms?" she said without looking up. "Name them. 1. Executive safeguard in writing. No dismissals without full board vet." Done. 2. Audit restructuring reports directly to me, not ops. Approved. 3. Marcus Langston system access is revoked permanently. All admin, comm teams, email, building, everything. A pause. The board exchanged a few glances. Vic didn't flinch. Granted, she finally looked up. "Put it in writing, right now." Elise slid a revised draft from her tablet to the printer near the wall. Within seconds, the updated terms came out warm. Vic signed first, then passed it back. Emily read it once, twice, then clicked her stylus and signed. No flourish, no smile. But as she handed the binder back, she looked Vic straight in the eyes and said, "Next time, maybe ask your nephew what I actually do." She stood, smoothed her blazer, and walked out. Outside the boardroom, Marcus was still standing in the hallway, eyes red, jaw clenched. He didn't speak. She didn't stop. As the door closed behind her, the chamber sat in stunned silence. Emily was gone, but the vault was open again, and the lesson was seared into every trembling ego in that room. Thanks for joining the fun, you office survivors. Subscribe for more switch-flicking drama. Let's make your former coworkers sweat.